guys, it's Danielle here from Evelyn and Sage Avenue, and I'm here today with a design team project for Ruby Tuesday. So of course I'll be using Ruby&Pearlxo's digitals. So today I create something I've wanted to create for a very long time, and obviously it's just a bonus that I get to use Heather's digitals for this. So this is a little Sewing Notions box. It's obviously not an original idea. I will also link where I got the inspiration from as well, to someone on Tim Holtz's design team, I think. But yeah, I'll link that below as well so you can see where I took my inspiration from. But it is of course using a Tim Holtz, I think this is a file card box. Again, I'll try and source that for you and link it below, but that's the base that I worked on. And then I covered it with Heather's digitals, and I'm not going to demonstrate it. I may do on my Patreon, but it's really easy. I'll just explain what I actually did. As much as I don't want to part with this, it will be for sale when this video is up, along with this bundle here. This is a slow stitch bundle that I've put together, so just an assortment of fabrics. There's a pretty large quilt piece in there as well, and obviously some antique linens and laces, etc. But I'll take you through that at the end, and then we'll just delve into what's inside of here. But the design team project part is just the covering of the box, and obviously I've lined the inside as well with Heather's digitals. So I am going to pop you to music. So I just wanted to show you the inside as well, because it is lined with one of Heather's digital wallpaper kits, and I've lined it entirely. So and this pillow here, this little pin cushion, I made as well. Really easy. Literally you just sew a rectangle together, or whatever size you want to stick it into, so a square rectangle. You fill it with some pillow or cushion filler, and that's it. You glue it to the bottom, so you sew the four ends together, leave a little gap so you can stuff it, and that's it. Really easy. So that is stuck in there, so you can't remove that. And there are some vintage pins from this little booklet here that I'll show you. So that is how I line the inside. And for the outside, what I wanted to show you is that I collaged together each side separately. So what I did was I kind of cherry picked through Heather's digitals, just little portions. I kind of focused on 2 or 3 colours, so that's blue and pink really. And I just cherry picked across her digitals and just chose little portions of rectangles and squares that I kind of isolated myself on Photoshop, but you could easily cut them up or use your scraps. And I just printed them out on an A4, cut them up, pieced them together separately. So I didn't piece them together on the box itself. I did it separately, and then I adhered them on. So once I'd got the size, I collaged within that space. And then I glued them onto some vintage wallpaper just to get that rough aged edge. Then that's just a decorative stitch, so that's not applying any structure, it's just for decoration. So I stitched around each portion, and then I just glued them on. So really easy. The most tedious bit was lining the inside. Yeah, that took me way longer than expected. It's just fiddly really, but once you've got the sizes, it's not hard, it's just a bit fiddly and less fun than the outside, let's say. And just to recap some of the pieces in here, so these are vintage scissors, embroidery scissors. I've included an assortment of buttons for you to obviously include in your slow stitching, and a wax seal, as you would have seen, that I've punched 2 holes in because that will make it easy to embroider it into whatever slow stitch piece you've got going. You can remove these buttons, just snip the thread off. The thread is hidden behind here, glued on, but if you do really want to use them, you can snip it off from the front, and then you could kind of recover the damage with more buttons if you wanted to, or something else. So they are for your slow stitching should you wish. This is some antique trim that I've just pinned onto here. This is actually for some packaging that I recently had. So I bought some bedding, and this was the packaging on the on the outside. I kept it because William Morris is my favourite artist, and I think this quote was just lovely, so I've included that too. And yeah, just everything in here, more or less, this is the only thing I've made. Everything else is authentic and vintage, aside from this that I've kind of shabbied up myself. I will also be including this little spool here, which will probably just sit just there, if you did want to keep it as is for decoration, but I just didn't want it in the video because it covered up the little button. This is the fabric bundle for your slow stitching. You can quite easily create a journal cover from this, if not a few journal covers, maybe even 3, depends how much you use, but there's a lot in here, but they are small pieces here and there as well, so I might not go through everything individually, but you'll get a good idea of what's included. So firstly, this is vintage sewing aids, a little booklet. I just thought it was adorable, and it kind of matched all the blues that are throughout. So here are some bits on the inside. So they're the pins that I used. I actually used the nicer ones, but I've just pulled them out and put them in the pin cushion because they're prettier. Yeah, so that's the inside of that. I've just cut out this lace piece from a window cover for you to embroider into, so you could quite easily embroider into these squares, or you could further enhance the rows by just completely covering that with embroidery floss. I will also include, I completely forgot, some embroidery floss as well, either some pink or blue or both, so I will include that when I send it to you as well. So I'm just going to kind of flick through. I'm not going to show you everything because I've kind of put it all neatly and layered it together so it's pretty when you receive it, but it is just trims, lots of little bits of vintage and antique lace. This is from a quilt piece, but this hasn't got the quilt inside, but I have got a large quilt piece at the bottom with the quilt inside. This lace actually has some roses in it, so you've got some vintage lace here as well. See, my voice is cracking now, sorry guys. Some pretty florals, included florals in there, loads of different textures. I've just put stuff together that I think I'd want to slow stitch with, so lots of textures, as I say, some flowers that you can cut out, lots of different lace trim, and obviously you've got your buttons that you can include as well. So here I've fussy cut some florals out for you, so just 3 pieces of flowers that I've embroidered into these in the past. I will actually show you that. So here are the same flowers that I've embroidered into. These are just the pink ones, so you can see they do come up really nice when they've been stitched into. This is an example of a slow stitch product I made over on my Patreon. So this is a journal cover, again using the exact same quilt that I've included in here, and laces, etc. So you could put something similar together, if not a couple of these pieces together, using this kit as well. I'm going to just try and show you the quilt piece at the bottom. We can neatly lift this up, and this is the quilt piece, so it's quite big. As I say, you could definitely either make a big fabric booklet like this, or you could make a couple of journals out of this if you wanted to, or just an isolated slow stitch product. So that would easily be one journal. You could make it a lot larger like that, and then you could use this portion folded as a smaller one yeah, you can do lots of different things with this if you wanted. And obviously you've got two sides to it, and the inside's really pretty as well. And this is just some vintage linen with some pretty florals on that I've just wrapped it with, and you'll receive that also. And right at the back, I forgot to put this in, so I'll include it in properly in the wrapping. But this is just a large linen piece. I'm not going to open the whole thing because it won't fit on the camera. But it's this size folded out 3 times, so it's quite large. And it's got some daisies embroidered into it as well. So this would be a really nice base if you wanted to embroider into, maybe if you didn't want to use a quilt piece as a backing. This linen would be a really nice and strong yet flexible base for you to embroider into. I always find this kind of fabric really nice to sew into. Alright guys, that's it for today. I just realised I'm not sure whether I gave you a full view of the outside without everything in it, so I could move it around. I can't remember if I did that, but I've put everything back in now, so I'm not going to empty it out again. But you'll see obviously all sides on my socials. I'll post some more detailed photos for you over on my Instagram. But thank you so much for watching, and you take care. Bye bye.